Get ready to be absolutely freaked out. A woman sat down at the dining table. Across from her sat a man she knew very well, her husband. Close up on her face, she stares at him, confused. Finally, she asks, "Can I help you?" Her voice is trembling. The man looks shocked. "Sarah, it's me. It's your husband." She responds, "Oh, okay." Then he tells her, "You don't remember me?" Close up on her eyes. A CT scan showed no stroke or other physical damage. A psychiatrist evaluated her and found no signs of hallucinations or voices. Sarah was rational. She answered questions appropriately and knew where she was. When Sarah's specialist heard about her symptoms, he knew exactly who to call. A specialist in neurological perception was brought in. He ran face recognition tests, including the Benton facial recognition test and an fMRI brain scan. After examining Sarah, he diagnosed her with a rare misidentification syndrome called Capgras delusion. Basically, her brain was capable of recognizing a face, but it had lost the ability to connect that face to emotional memory. So her brain assumed someone was pretending to be her husband and children. Sarah eventually improved with therapy and medication. But sometimes when her daughter smiles at her, she still wonders, why does that smile feel so familiar if I don't know who she is? Except when it came to faces, doctors were puzzled. People with this condition can visually recognize someone, but because of a disconnect in their brain, they fail to connect that recognition to emotional memory. If Sarah had never recovered, do you think she would have been better off not knowing she had a delusion? Or do you think it's better to know the truth even if it hurts? For more unsettling medical mysteries, stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Basically, they see their mom, but they don't feel the love they should feel when they see her. Instead, their brain assumes someone is pretending to be their mom. Couldn't figure out what was wrong with Sarah. Sarah's family was devastated. Her daughters had no idea what was going on. Lily would run up to Sarah and hug her and ask, "Do you want to play with me, Mommy?" Sarah would pull away and look at her strangely. "Who are you?" she would ask. "Why do you keep coming up to me? Go away." Lily would burst into tears and run to her father. "Daddy, Mommy doesn't know who I am anymore." Mark cradled his daughter and promised, "We'll get through this. Don't worry." He didn't know how. All he knew was that this wasn't his wife. It was as if a part of her soul had been ripped away. We can see she isn't looking at him at all. She crept out of bed, got dressed, and quietly opened the front door. She slipped outside and walked down the street. She was going to find her friends and tell them what was happening, but then she stopped. She didn't know where she was. She didn't know anyone in this neighborhood. In fact, she didn't know anyone anymore. Panicked, Sarah tried to turn back, but she couldn't open the door. When she looked through the window, she saw a stranger in her house. Thinking it was her husband, she started banging on the glass. He opened the door and stepped out. Sarah screamed, "Don't come near me! I know you're an imposter." The man rushed over to comfort her, but she pushed him away. He looked familiar, but she didn't know who he was. "Help me," she cried. "He's trying to hurt me." The police arrived. As they led Sarah away, Mark rushed into her driveway. "Sarah, it's me, honey. It's Mark. Please believe me." Suddenly, Lily came running. She threw her arms around Sarah and shouted, "Mommy, I missed you so much." Looking at her daughter, Sarah whispered, "Who is that child? Why is she crying for me?" In that moment, Mark knew they had lost her forever. She stared into the eyes of the people she loved most and saw only strangers there. This is the true story of a woman who lost something far deeper than memory. She lost her ability to recognize the faces of her own family. But how is that possible? And what did her husband do next? Keep watching. 2. Patient introduction. Meet Sarah. She was a 38-year-old school counselor, a loving mother of 2 daughters aged 8 and 5, and wife to her husband of 12 years. "Hey, how are you?" she asked. He was shocked. "You just asked me that an hour ago," he replied. Confused, Sarah shrugged it off. It happened again the next day, when she didn't recognize Lily's face. At first, she thought it was just a bad case of amnesia, but then it kept happening. She started to say her neighbor was an imposter. She didn't know who else. Her coworkers were also shocked when Sarah suddenly started saying things like, "I just don't know them anymore." As time went on, Sarah became more and more paranoid. She was sure someone was trying to trick her. She started locking doors and barricading her room. When Mark tried to enter, she screamed at him to get away. "Don't come near me," she cried. I know what you're doing. You're pretending to be my husband, but you're not. I have no idea who I am. She lived in a nice house in Seattle. People who worked with Sarah, like her boss, described her as grounded, smart, and emotionally intelligent. Sarah was the kind of person who remembered everyone's birthdays, always had a listening ear, and made sure every student felt seen. She was very close to her family. Her husband, Mark, was her best friend. They did everything together. On weekends, they would take their daughters, Lily and Emma, to the park, play board games as a family, and eat dinner together. Sarah's life was built on connection, which is why when her mind started to erase the faces of the people closest to her, it felt like she was losing everything. 3. Symptom progression. It started subtly. One day, Sarah took a nap, and when she woke up, she greeted her husband like a stranger. 4. Failed diagnoses. When Sarah's symptoms got worse, Mark rushed her to the hospital. The doctors suspected psychosis or early-onset schizophrenia. 5. Emotional peak. One night, Sarah decided she'd had enough. 6. Final discovery. 7. The simple explanation. Capgras delusion is a rare psychological condition, often triggered by neurological damage or mental illness. Now it's time for you to make your voice heard. Comment below.